Welcome back, everybody. Today what we're going to try and do is cover the basics of reinforcements in Allied. So what we're going to do is create a new mission real quick, and we're going to go through kind of quickly what we covered in the last video that got cut off a little bit. So we're going to quickly add the skybox and the background, and we're going to use a previous mission to import the um, skybox to make it go a little quicker. Okay, so we're going to do like we did last time. We're going to pull up the flight group editor. I might as well save this flight group library. Uh, let's save it in Starfield. There we go. Okay, so now I have that, and I can drag all that, copy it into the mission, and it should be showing up on only easy. It'll show up in all the versions, but at least that way I can hide it by hitting the medium level difficulty button filter there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a very basic mission. So what we're going to do is, since I'm an Empire guy, we're going to do most of this stuff from the perspective of the Empire. One of the things I want to cover real quick is playing as the Empire. What I typically do is create um, the gameplay from the Empire's perspective, and in doing so, it sort of changes the way the game plays a little bit. With Darksaber's Ultimate Craft Pack, a lot of the things about playing the Empire have been improved. Considering if you have IFF Imperial selected here, you actually have wingmen that will have voice chatter with the proper voice files installed. So let's create this basic mission to cover reinforcements. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a TIE bomber. We're going to name him Gamma. We're going to create Global Unit 1, and then we're going to give them orders to circle waypoints. Okay, so now this is going to be the player character, as you can see here. So I'm going to set it up so that the single fighter, maybe let's say 2 or 3 respawnable waves, depending on what game mode you're playing this in. We'll set it up like it's an AI, so all I have to do is copy and paste to create my AI wingman. Alright, so here's the flight, and here are my waypoints. And we'll go ahead and create just a few. Alright. Circle waypoints, let's just give it, you know, an unlimited number of loops, essentially. Alright, now, let's give them a home base. So we're going to create a new ship. We're going to make it a, let's say, strike cruiser. I haven't seen one of those in a while. It might be fun to put in a mission. I just can't seem to remember where it is. Strike cruiser. Boom. Okay, we'll make them Team Imperial. IFF Imperial. Let's name it Allied. Just give it some silly name. Call it Allied Engager. If the opt has multiple paint schemes, you could choose that here. I don't think it does, but I don't remember, so we're just going to pick a random one. Alright, I think hangar bays on the right side, so we're going to place it there. All right. Now, one of the things we can do, one of the tricks with AlliED is you can select multiple vessels, and if you want to move the vessel, all the other selections and their waypoints at the same time, I think it's hold control. No, hold on. Let's see. Give me just a moment to remember. There we go. So hold shift control, and you can move all of your selection, including the waypoints, however you want. I move them down off the vertical plane a little bit, and I can do this as well. All right, so we're going to give this strike cruiser, let's just say circle at 0% throttle. He'll just stay there while our TIE bombers do rounds. Now, the single TIE bomber is my flight group, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste that. All right, now we're going to make it a wave of 3, and that's it. We'll actually bring it down so that it's one shot. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to set that to AI. He's also Global Unit 1, and because he's underneath the top unit, which is my unit, he shows up as the second group of fighters. So where I'm Global Unit 1, 1 TIE bomber, that makes me Gamma 1. The second group of bombers is 3 flights of TIE bombers in Global Unit 1. He starts out at Gamma 2. If I were to make another flight group at Global Unit 3, you would see that he starts at Gamma 5 because this is 1, this is 2, 3, and 4, and then this would be 5, 6, and 7. But we don't want that, so we're going to delete that. Okay, so now we have our lead player character. We have some AI wingmen to control. Notice my flight group is still at the very top of the mission list. That's important for calling in reinforcements. We'll cover that in a moment. All right, we've got some basics here for some some filler in the mission. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a backdrop. Use the backdrop wizard. And let's say, since we start off kind of flying off at a 45-degree angle here, we're going to put the backdrop here. And in the last mission I covered that if you put the backdrops way out here, it gives you a better sense of where the backdrop actually is. I think I might start doing that. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll make it a ringed planet. I'm not entirely sure if that meets 1-for-1 with the new update, but we're going to select it anyway. And we'll just use the basic color, and we'll bring the brightness way down, but we're going to make the size large. And then we're going to copy that, and we're going to create another backdrop. Let's just say we'll put it here, and we'll make it a star. We'll color it purple, if that's correct. I'm not entirely sure. We'll make the brightness, let's say 6. Okay. All right. So we got a little bit of basic scenario and scenery here. Now, what we can do is add another flight group, and we'll put him, let's put him over here, okay? And we'll make it a, let's make it a group of multiple Carrack cruisers, okay? So we're going to have it Imperial, IFF Imperial, name it CC124 dash, we'll just make it global group 2 and it'll automatically name it dash 1. Okay, and we'll give it a waypoint here. Let's adjust that, and we'll adjust that a little bit. And then we'll make the Carrack look like it's coming from the ringed planet. Okay, now its orders are going to be to circle waypoints. Okay. And we'll say 100% throttle by default. Excuse me. Okay, now we're not going to put any bad guys in this mission. We're not going to overcomplicate it. We're just kind of covering the functionality of the reinforcement system. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it look pretty at least. So we're going to copy that flight group. And then we're going to do control and drag. Okay, so control drag. Do it again, control drag. And so now when they come out of hyperspace, they'll come out in formation and then they'll follow that waypoint at 100% throttle. Since they're the same ship class, they'll travel at the same speed and then they'll stop here. Okay, now here's the important part. Let's cover arrival and departure. So my ship and my TIE bomber ships, their arrival should be from its mothership. It's pretty straightforward. With the player character, it doesn't really affect anything unless you end up having to respawn. However, I always set it. It makes sense. I've got to originate from somewhere, so we'll set it as the strike cruiser. The departure would also be the same. This allows you to use the hangar bay feature when you come close to your mothership. If we set it as the strike cruiser, it should function the same way, and it would work the same way for your wingmen if you tell them to go home, or if you set up any sort of conditions where they have to retreat before they've completed their mission, they'll go back to their hangar. The same thing is sort of set up with the Carrack cruisers. They're set to arrive via hyperspace, but we need to set the trigger that creates that. I'm sorry, the arrival here. We were looking at departure. So if we want the Carrack cruisers to arrive via calling in reinforcements, what we need to do is make sure that the player character is at the top of the list, 1, and then 2, we need to set the arrival or the arrival condition. So what we want to do is do 100% flight group Gamma 1, which would be the player character. And now this functions for single player. I'm not entirely sure what the settings have to be if you're playing co-op, which seems to be something that we're capable of doing now. So just kind of follow along for single player purposes. So 100% flight group, TIE Bomber Gamma. You could probably set it as, I don't know, global group. You could set it in multiple things, but flight group Gamma must be reinforced, if we can find it here. If you're anything like me, you've probably already seen it and you're screaming, it's click it there, it's right there. Not be reinforced by AI. There it is. Be reinforced. Okay, so 100% a flight group TIE Bomber Gamma must be reinforced. Now we have to be very specific about this, and it may have an effect on it. If I, let's say, had this set up that I had multiple waves, like let's say my craft died, I could set up several waves. If I think, and I'd have to double check it, but if I set the arrival for these Carracks to be 100% a flight group TIE Bomber Gamma must be reinforced, it might affect whether or not it actually functions. So you might need to set something like at least 1 or each, whatever. We'll set it like this and just see how it functions. So 100% flight group TIE Bomber Gamma 1, which is my flight group, which is at the top of the list, must be reinforced. We can set a delay, so we don't want it to look like they come right out of hyperspace, but let's say they're at the edge of the gravity well of that ringed planet, and they're just waiting for the order to jump in. So let's say they're close enough that it's only a 10-second hyperspace jump. Okay, so when I call reinforcements, these should jump out of hyperspace and then start to continue along this line here. And we can test that by saving the mission. So let's save the mission in our combat folder. And I can show you how to use this if you have the multiplayer hook installed from Just a Guy, which is an option in the Darksabers Ultimate Craft Pack 2.6. So we're going to call it Mission 8. I'm not sure if that hyper jump rule applies for Team 1 versus Team 2. We can cover that in another mission. Okay, so it's saved. What else we want to do is we want to navigate to the list file for the combat folder. And it's different from the normal list file that you can access via AlliED. What you have to do is go into your mission folder. We'll pull it up. Okay, here we go. Pulling it onto the screen. So in my install, I've got GOG Games. I installed the Darksabers Ultimate Craft Pack on top of default X-Wing Alliance, and then I renamed the folder, and this is what the install folder looks like. The multiplayer hook adds a section in the combat simulator with a folder for missions in the combat folder here. I added this mission here, 8BMU08.TIE. So we're going to add it to the mission list, which I just opened. Here we go. And we're just going to copy that last line and then change what we need to. So we're going to put it 6 in line, change the number of the TIE mission, description for, I think that would be 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know why that's listed that way. And we'll actually name the mission so that it's visible to us. AlliED reinforcement tutorial. We'll save that. And then we're going to bring up the game. Now my pilot editor, I have my pilot edited so that I'm on a specific mission. So I'm seeing the Imperial concourse when I boot up the game. Now in order to access the combat mission, we have to go in here, and then we want to click on single player. Okay, so now in order to access the combat missions, we click this button over here, and then we can click load down here. Now we have a list of all those missions that was in that folder, AlliED Reinforcement Tutorial. Now, I didn't set up any mission goals or mission briefings, so we're just going to click Quick Start. It skips the briefing. There's no real mission goals here. It starts us off in the generic Imperial hangar, since the strike cruiser doesn't have any hangar. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and launch our fighter. Let me plug in my joystick. All right, systems check. It's all good. Oh, look, the TIE bomber even has little windows we can look. I don't want to say windows because that would be inaccurate. They're monitors with little cameras on the outside because there's wings there. We wouldn't usually be able to see that. But whoever, I guess Darksaber made this, well done on that. It was a good addition. All right, here we go. Wish we could just stay in the cockpit when we leave. Okay. So we're gonna reduce our throttle. Let's take a look around here. All right, there's our strike cruiser. There's our two backdrops, which seem a little off. Don't really feel like that's exactly where I put them, but we can address that here a little bit. I'll have to look into why that happened. Interesting. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do, what I was hoping to do is be able to look at the backdrop, but I feel like it's in the wrong space, and then call in the reinforcements and see them come in. But we're just going to go ahead and do that now and turn to them when they arrive. So to call in reinforcements, there's a couple of different ways we can do it. We can do Shift S.
There are no reinforcements available.
Okay, so that means that we didn't set it up correctly. Let's exit out, take a look at it again, and see why. Okay, so I have the player craft as Group 1, 100% flight group, TIE Bomber Gamma 1 must. Okay, something happened. We didn't get to set. Being reinforced did not get set. Let's try that again. But while we're here, let's take a look at why the backdrop got messed up. So the backdrop should be all the way out here, and yet it's showing up in a different spot. And I'm wondering why that is. So let's pull them in a little closer and see if that has any effect on it. There might be a feature that I'm missing. Okay, so we're going to save it again. We're going to go back into the mission. Fly again. The changes that we made should show up. Skip through that.
Don't fly straight and level for long.
Okay, well, that looks a little better. I think we got the star and the gas giant mixed up, but that's okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look on the bottom left-hand corner. If we set it up correctly, it should show an option at the very bottom, send reinforcements. And if I hit Shift S,
there are no reinforcements
it should work properly, but it's not. So we have to kind of troubleshoot it. Let's exit out, take a look at it again. So what we might need to do is, oh goodness, I messed it up. Okay, so we're gonna set that back. All right, so we need to make sure that the arrival orders for this is flight group TIE Bomber Gamma 1 must be reinforced. The delay would be 10 seconds. They come out via hyperspace,